So on our show today, we have a very sensitive individual here with us
to talk about toxicity.
Toxic relationships, toxicity.
Yeah.
Saira Omer,
everyone. Ex-Dawn employee now sits on the hot seat.
That's true.
That was damn good.
That was good, right?
Good, yeah.
Solid.
Solid.
Yeah.
Do you guys want me to start?
No, so let's.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about toxic relationships and toxic ships, toxic behavior, all kinds of toxicness, right?
Yeah.
For a very long time.
Again, toxic. Just say toxic again.
Toxic.
Yeah.
It's a game we're playing.
Toxicity.
Toxicity.
For a very long time, every time someone asked me, oh, you guys are so funny together. You guys, you have so much banter, this, that. In my head, I was like, yeah, we do have banter. And then I would go home thinking, who's the one toxic person in my life?
Me. And I've been told multiple times, and I do admit, that I have some certain toxic traits. I'm not going to lie. And I personally feel we all have toxic traits.
I'm really proud of you that you are self-aware now.
Yeah.
After 10 years of knowing you to a point where you are admitting it.
I am.
The first step is admitting it.
I think the first step is accountability of your own self before
Absolutely.
pinpointing fingers at the other one.
My first step is to point fingers at other people and blame them, which is part of my toxicity where I'm like, I've never done anything wrong in my life.
That's very toxic.
I know. Yeah. And then actually it was just here. It was in the 89 offices a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, a couple of weeks. Time is this construct. You know what I mean? That's toxicity based on social norms. And I was talking about how I realized that I have toxic behavior in which I push people away and I don't let them become friends with me, but then I'll sit there and cry that they're not my friend. And I'm saying this I've had a revelation.
Yeah.
And without missing a beat, Elhaam's like, yeah, you really do that. And I was like, oh, I am toxic in my own way.
But you push people away. Why? Why do you push people away?
I think, actually, this is a great segue because my longest toxic relationship, I would say, was a 20-year friendship, which is why I do stuff like that. So should we talk about it?
Yeah,
let's talk about this. Why don't we start with you telling us about, because you just dropped a bomb, right?
Yeah.
So,
20
because the
years.
thing is, there's all kinds of toxic relationships. There's all kinds. There's with your parents, with your friends. It could be with literally anybody.
Colleagues.
The minute you add the ship to it.
Yeah.
Sorry. I thought I can do an improv.
You can.
Colleagues.
You can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Ex-colleagues, sorry.
Ex.
Ex.
Now we're friends.
Yeah, now we're friends. Now we're friends.
I'm admitting it. I'm admitting it. Okay, on
now.
camera.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is when you're toxic, when you acknowledge the fact that you have been the one.
Yeah.
The self-awareness around toxic behavior. Yeah. I mean, I know we're jumping way ahead to what our producer told us to do, but I feel like it's a good segue for you to tell us, how were you toxic for 20 years?
Was she toxic? She just said she had a toxic
relationship but she also acknowledges the fact.
I love this. I was like, no, Sabah's the victim. And I'm like, you're right. I am. Yeah. No, so what I'll say is this. I think I had very poor communication style, which honestly I still really struggle with. And I think it's because I feel like if I tell my friend, hey, this bothered me, because they're my friend and not my blood family, they will dump me. And I will lose that friend. So I think because of that, I wouldn't say a lot of the times when things upset me.
Yeah.
And then that becomes resentful and shit and stuff. And then that becomes toxic. But I'll say some of my longest friendships, basically, I grew up in America. Believe it or not, this accent is fully real.
Yeah.
It's fully 100% real. And I grew up in a massive Pakistani community. Yeah. And so my parents' thought process was we're Pakistani. These people are Pakistani. Their kids are Pakistani. If my kids are friends with them, everyone just stays Pakistani.
Yeah.
And, we have the same values and this and that, and we can grow up together. And I mean, I don't want to discredit. There was a lot of obviously amazing times. Growing up with people is some of the best friendships you can have.
Agreed.
But there was also a lot of toxicity in that I felt like I was on eggshells 900% of the time. I couldn't ever say oh, this hurt my feelings. It felt like you were risking something by saying, hey, can we focus on me today and stuff like that. And it went on and on for a really long time. Also, plenty of silent treatment, in a group, two people running off to talk about the other two people and people turning on people on a whim, using one another.
Bullying,
Literally.
Yeah.
And because you're best friends, you don't see it as bullying. You see it as well, that's just the way they are.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was perfect. Again, at any point in like nearly 25 years, I could have been like, hey, this is not cool, or like, what am I doing that is warranting this sort of behavior? But then eventually getting old enough, I was like, oh, I hate feeling like this.
Yeah.
And actually I had a conversation with one of my childhood friends about like, Sabah, where have you gone? And like, we used to be so close and this and that. And I said, like, I realized that I have so many friendships, alhamdulillah, I'm blessed with so many relationships where I don't feel that way. That I'm like, well, if I tell so-and-so that this hurt my feelings, they'll never speak to me again. Or like, if I tell someone, hey, can we hang out?
But then, I mean, once you get self-aware, you have like an adverse reaction to it. Either you completely shut it out, or then you are, I mean,
a little vocal.
In best case scenario, you're wary of it, and you know what your, I mean, lack of better word, you know what your rights are, and so then you demand those. Right? If it's a relationship and you're like, okay, this needs to be two-way, it can't just be one way like me and Saira.
And I'm the victim, guys.
No.
Everyone has seen it. Everyone's seen it. I publicly have
like
a lot of.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
Yeah,
but I want to add on.
Fully going to be a therapy session.
It will be.
Me being the mediator.
Group therapy.
But I just want to add something to what Sabah said. Exactly the reason why, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why you never wanted to be vocal when you were growing up, I have this problem. I had, or probably working on it, severe abandonment issues.
Same.
Okay? So the reason why you're not vocal is because you feel like the other person is going to leave you. And this has happened to me all my life. All my life. Growing up, I've had so many friends. Alhamdulillah, I've been blessed with a lot of friends. But I don't have those friends anymore. And every time somebody left my life, maybe they had a lot of ego, or maybe I was overcompensating in that relationship, or maybe I had a lot of ego. But in the end, everyone knew one thing about me, and that was my biggest weakness. And never share your weaknesses with everyone, guys. Never.
Hot tip.
That with Saira, even if she messes up or we do, she will always run after us, and she will always try to make it work. And that was my biggest failure growing up. Till date.
No, and then you tag yourself as being loyal.
In
your head.
It's not about even...
When it's not.
Or you just let things go.
Yeah, and I'm like, but why don't you want to speak to me? Why don't you want to be my friend? What's wrong? What did I do? Blah, 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 blah. And I have had severe insecurities. Maybe I wasn't good enough, that's why they left me. Or maybe I wasn't a good friend. And very recently, doing a lot of therapy sessions, and I'm not going to just credit the therapist, I'll credit myself as well, because she clearly told me in one of the sessions, till you don't want to change, you can keep on coming over here and you can keep on wasting your money. You have to change within. And I was okay with the idea of not having anyone in my life, rather than running after people who are blatantly telling me they don't want to be a part of my life. It's perfectly all right to let people go.
Can I build up? Sorry, unless you want to add on to it.
No,
I love that you said abandonment issues. Because I just want to say it right here on Dawn English.
I do.
That me and you have never talked about this.
Never talked
ever
about this.
before. And I have severe abandonment issues, and literally it took me growing up also to to the people who I felt abandoned me, mom and dad, that I was like and trust me, they feel really bad. And I love to say, like, I ruin at least like one dinner a month. Like, we're all happy and I'm like, hey, remember when? And then I'm like, did I just wait and watch it all go to hell? But you're right, it's a severe thing that, like, if I ask for what I want, the highest chance, what my brain tells me, the biggest possibility out of this, they're gonna leave. They're gonna leave me. And another thing, I think, parents, that it came from my parents a lot, was like, just let it go, just let it go, just let it go. They never like asked for like solution to stuff. It was more like, okay, somebody hurt you, but it's chore. And like you, then I'm the one messaging them like, all right, man, like, let's move on.
And this has been my biggest problem growing up. Biggest issue, and everyone knows. With Saira, she'll come around. She'll make the effort. She'll come and talk to us, and always. So she's there. We don't have to run after her. And guys, I've grown up. I've experienced so many things. And a lot of people have... I tend to believe I have, because I'm very self-aware and I want to take accountability for whatever I do. So I know that I'm there now. it is funny when people say it's all about the chase. Guys, talk to me about the chase. Is it that when people are running after you, friends, family, you just kind of get like a little like, okay, you don't have to make any effort towards that person because that person will always stay.
Wait,
So
that's such a good point.
It's,
Sorry, no, please.
this has come from left field because I was not expecting you to take the chase element, and I would
That's
never
actually
have thought.
wild.
That's actually amazing. yeah.
Thank you.
Therapy's working.
Therapy's working.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Deep conversations.
But you're absolutely
Deep,
right.
yeah.
It is all about.
It
And
is-
then
it is
the
all
minute
about
you
the
get
chase.
it, you're like,
Yeah. I got validated. Move on.
Do you think that, because we definitely talk about the chase when it comes to like romantic relationships and things like that for sure, right?
Yeah.
The chase. You someone who doesn't play hard to get.
But it's the same with other
yeah,
relationships.
but you've like flipped a switch on in me
Yeah.
that it's like, do we apply that same sort of high of achieving something in friendship too? That, oh, this person is so elusive and now I'm winning them back.
in friendships, in every, even with your
every
parents,
relationship.
even with
Yeah,
your family,
yeah.
there are certain things that you will not get validated on.
Yeah.
And then when you finally do, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, growing
Yeah.
up,
And you're
there,
like,
there is
oh.
a rebellious child and a spoiled child. Why? Because the spoiled kid is always getting pampered. The rebellious one just needs to get some attention. It's not like I'm saying I'm rebellious. I tend to believe that I was the spoiled one. But
We
I'm
just put
saying-
a rap sheet
I'm
behind
really
her.
glad that you really hit like a whole other level of self-awareness.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank you so much, guys. Therapy with hypnotherapy is equals to what I am today.
Okay.
By the way, you guys need to try it out.
I'm actually,
also.
I have my
Yeah.
first therapy session with a new therapist next week.
Yeah.
I've gone through some.
Yeah.
Didn't always click, or
Yeah.
they were just honestly like so expensive that I was like, "Bhai, if you don't fix me in this one session, I can't do this." But I think it's worth the investment for
It is,
sure.
it
So
is.
I'm starting next week. And actually, primarily to deal with this abandonment issue, because when we talked about it at
Yes.
work that day, I was kind of embarrassed because I'm like, other people can sense that I'm like
Yeah.
kind of a freak about certain things.
Yeah.
And
People
like,
pleasing behavior.
Yeah.
No,
It's a
it's
people-
so people pleasing is a big problem.
It is a
It's
big problem.
really. I
It
have
is a-
that problem.
I think I do too,
And,
yeah.
and I feel like I've been trying to work on it, but I've had that problem. And then to the point that like if someone doesn't reciprocate, then I start going at it in my head and I'm like, why aren't they? Because I'm giving so much
Yeah.
and I'm not getting the
Again-
same amount
again,
back.
it's all about
no
the
matter
people please me.
how many times
But that's the thing. It's all about the chase, right? If we were pleasing you a lot,
you
then
wouldn't
value
even
us.
you wouldn't even think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
No, no,
People
I
want
pleasing,
you guys
guys.
to
People
chase
pleasing
me.
is a thing. You know, social media validation, people pleasing, overcompensating yourself all the time, putting yourself down. You want to be validated all the time. It's social media for me. Please talk to me about social media.
And a
okay?
toxic
By the way,
relationship.
Yeah, talk to me about
toxic relation. I mean, there are all types, right? Social media, toxic behavior.
Yeah,
There's so much
yeah,
toxicity
yeah.
on social
Yeah.
media, and I'm not only talking about the trolls. I'm
Yeah.
talking about even something as basic as the other day I was going through something and I came across an article that was talking about how these massive fan bases. For a celebrity, the way they start behaving, that's also toxic.
The way
It
they
is,
mobilize,
it is.
Considering,
It is.
I mean, you're literally giving your entire life to this one
What's the
person who doesn't
word
even know
for
you
it?
Yeah.
exist.
Parasocial relationship.
haven't
Even they
heard of
have
this.
them with like influencers and
Yeah.
stuff where they genuinely believe they're like a part of your life and
Yeah.
that you kind of owe them
Owe them some
something. So like for
explanation.
example, when like a hot couple breaks up that I was following and there's like no story, like, excuse me, why aren't you posting together?
Yeah.
Fine,
Yeah.
I'll say that. I'm not
Yeah.
going to tag them and
Yeah.
be like, hello, Lena,
Yeah.
why don't
Yeah.
I know what
Yeah.
happened with you and your man?
I mean, it's one step closer to becoming a stalker.
Literally.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
some
It is.
people will straight up be like, you owe it to us.
Yeah.
I liked your video of your engagement. It's like, why you clicked like? I don't owe you
And
anything.
a lot of celebrities fall into these. Like I feel bad for them because they didn't ask for this, and they're constantly expected to share so much of their lives with strangers. Essentially,
Yeah.
they're not their friends.
You
they're like just
are
people
a
out
public
there.
figure. So when you are a public figure, then you get ready for trolls. Then you get ready for cons because you are somewhat.
But to
you
what
don't realize that
extent,
you're
Saira?
Yeah, to what extent? Yes.
To what extent?
No
Because some
stalkerish
people-
behavior.
There are no boundaries
You know, yeah.
online.
I'll give you an example right now. Okay, Hira Mandi just came out.
Yeah.
Okay, the girl, the main lead, Malam Zeb ya Malam, sorry.
Alam Zeb.
Malam
Zeb.
Zeb.
I mean, her character is
Malam
called
jab
Alam
bhagi
Zeb.
Yeah, her
Alam
character's name is Alam Zayn. I was like, her name in real life
so
is
I was the
Malam
first episode, I
Zayn.
was like, wow, you know, main lead is so nice. Acha, aista, when I started speaking to my friends, do you know she's Sanjay Leela Bansali's niece?
Oh, yeah,
I was like,
nepotism. That-
all
the
of
whole
a sudden,
conversation on
my
nepotism.
mindset was like nepotism. Acha, then I started looking at it from a different light. And then later, the season ended, and the way people were trolling her, I understand. Bollywood mein, Hollywood mein, there's nepotism everywhere. Let's face it.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's in your workplaces. It's everywhere.
That girl was shattered. She came and she's like, I wasn't expecting this. You know, it hurts your ego. When you put something out there, I went private from my public account, guys. Not that people are trolling me and I wasn't a big celebrity, but certain instances, I'll give you an example. I put up a picture of a place and an incident happened. Something happened that really affected me. And I realized that 3,000 people are following me on Instagram. Oh my God, people hate my guts. Some of them probably are envious. Sorry. Some
No,
of them
I'm just-
are jealous. Some of them truly hate me. So these 3,000 followers are not followers who genuinely like me.
Girl, that is
90% of the people just want to follow me to say, laugh, crib, nazar lagana. And then it started happening, the pattern. I started seeing the patterns. Then I'm playing basketball. Next day, my knee. I snapped my knee. And I was like, okay, hold on. Maybe nazar is not something.
But see, my relationship with Nazar was so toxic that I had to
I
step away.
I went private.
So was Saira's.
Yeah,
I
we
was.
were crazy.
Yeah, we
There
were
was
crazy.
a point where
Yeah.
I don't know if I should talk about this.
My friend
let's
ran
not talk
in
about this.
the
The
things
thing is,
that you did at work to get rid of the nazar, I was embarrassed for you.
We're in the same vicinity and wahan pe chula hai and I would have like people
वहाँ पे चूल्हा
burn.
नहीं है. There is a whole other studio where
Yeah.
the chef cooks.
Yeah.
She convinced one of the ladies who works with us to get her mirche from home.
Yeah.
So that she can go and burn them.
But
And then
nazar
stood
is-
over the stove and tried to smell it and then came back and said, it's true.
Farhan bhai, aap bataye, nazar is
For
real,
God's
right?
sake.
Nazar is real. So
Okay, look,
what I did
nazar
was I went
is
private.
real.
Okay,
Fair
guys,
enough.
I went private and I started.
But to let it run your life.
It did because
ran
I
my
was having
life
health issues, or maybe I was just, it was a
Toxic trait.
Yeah. I was having health issues. I was having injuries. I was having things
Fair.
happen to me.
Fair.
So I was like, okay,
They
fine.
say bad things happen in threes. Hers was
Yeah.
like 33.
30.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to just go private and I will be very picky and selective of the kind of content I want to put out there for
Yeah.
people to consume. Not
Fair.
everything. People don't need to know everything
Fair
about my
enough. But
life.
after you
Yeah.
went private, did things start getting better?
Alhamdulillah. Half of the world does not know where I sit, stand, eat, poop.
That's fine.
Sleep, go to this place, go to that place. I'm very selective. I've gone to 3 trips in the past 8 months.
Mashallah.
मैंने एक ट्रिप की पिक्चर नहीं लगाई है. I reposted a friend's picture. मैंने नहीं लगाई है because in my head I'm like, okay, those are my memories.
Repost it and then caption it. Not that
No,
I'm
no,
here.
yeah,
I'm
that
not here.
Not
I
that
just
I'm
thought
here.
it was a good
I
photo.
haven't actively made a reel, but I was there and I
Yeah.
had a very good time. Those memories are on my phone, on my pictures, and maybe tomorrow if I want to put content out there, मैं लगा लूँगी 8 महीने. I'm done with that trip,
मिर्ची
right?
जला के
मिर्ची
फिर.
जला के मैं लगा लूँगी.
So I
But yeah.
had a very toxic relationship with Nazar, which I feel you two probably knew. I was crazy.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, truly, I'm
We
saying.
don't use that word on this
Sorry.
podcast.
I
we don't.
was
To talk about ourselves.
evil eye.
I was a hysterical woman. No, I'm joking. But to the point that I was actually harming my relationships with people in my life who mattered to me because I wouldn't tell them where I was or where I was going. And like some of them landed in Pakistan and I had gone on vacation. And when they landed and they were like, hello, where the hell are you? I had to be like, hey, so I didn't tell anyone because the last few times I tried to travel, like all these bad things happened because I had announced it. And you know, the person's looking at me like, you sound insane.
Yeah.
And are you saying that
Yeah.
I will nazar you and I don't want you to be happy? And I was like, that's not it. But it was like a breaking
Yeah.
moment where I was like, I do not want to live like this anymore.
Yeah.
And then I found out that the only way to beat nazar is to give it less importance.
Importance,
And I was
yes.
like, that's what nazar wants you
And
to
that's
do.
what I'm
all
working
I
on.
tried to explain
This episode
to
is
the both of you.
Yeah, that's
Can I, for the record, say that
Yeah.
with both of you coming and telling me that about Nazar, and then you guys telling me that I don't believe in it, all I was trying to tell you was that if you don't feed into it, it won't become a big monster.
Yeah.
You're feeding into the monster.
Yeah.
All you have to do is take a step back and be like, no, this doesn't affect me.
Yeah, now I
gotta
don't
power
think like
through
that.
it.
I don't think like
Yeah,
that.
now I'm
I
like,
don't
I have
ponder
to
over it.
live.
I don't fret about
Yeah.
it. But this is my life. I like to be an intimate person with a selective gathering,
Yeah.
and I want to be my complete self. And guys, can we talk about energies? So obviously toxicity and energies, right? Do you guys feel like when you guys enter a room, you can sense someone's energy being toxic or not? Do you guys feel it?
With people.
Do you guys
yeah.
feel it?
Yeah.
I feel
can.
it. My gut speaks to
I
me.
can pick it up. I can pick up on it pretty well.
I literally.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
To-
Do you feel it?
I would say for sure there are times that I felt it, and kind of like what I learned after, stepping away from, decades long friendships is now I have a rule where if I walk away from an interaction with you and I'm like, oh, I don't like how that felt.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
I will stay cordial. Like the great Drake once said, like, I'm an adult, so I'm going to say hi to people and keep it cordial, keep it 100, keep
Yeah.
professional. But there are people now where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't-
respond to energies.
I respond to it like and the thing is we're too old.
Yeah.
That's my other thing is like you can be 15, you go to some little party, someone makes you feel like I was gonna say dog shit, makes you feel bad,
Yeah.
bleep that, and you're like I gotta make them like me, like I gotta fix this, and that's a big problem
Yeah,
for me
that
as a
is-
public
that is a big
figure.
problem. Yeah. That is a big
People
problem.
not liking me freaks me out. Thank God I've moved away from that, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this podcast. But there was a time I couldn't take it. Now at my age, I walk in, your energy's kind of like mean.
Off.
But
Yeah.
I'm
But,
embarrassed for you.
Which is also, by the way, which is also a drawback.
You have a
which
list?
is
I
also
have
a drawback.
list. I have a list of people, and people keep getting added and then taken off. She was on it for a while. No,
Wow.
you're not on it.
Is it
yet.
me?
No, you're off the list now.
I'm off the list.
But
It was
there
my
was
energy.
there was a list, and I kept adding and removing people. There was an uncle on the list also.
I have plenty
I got toxic
of
vibes from him. I would see him everywhere, and then I got toxic vibes, and I put him on the list. It's an imaginary list, obviously. I'm not sitting there at home
Yeah.
writing in in my diary. But no, I'm not going to. What do you mean who?
Name it.
No, absolutely
Kiss
not.
uncle. Who's
Kiss
that?
uncle. Yeah.
I'm not going to name anybody
Katie,
on
yeah.
my list because the list keeps changing, right,
Yeah.
over time. But it depends, like you said, energies, right?
Energies.
It's the kind of energies I'm getting off of those people. There will be some instances where I'll meet them and the energy will be great. We'll have a great time, and I'll walk away being like, okay, scratch them off the list.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
3 days later, I'll meet them again, and then they'll back to square one. I'm like back on the list.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just going through a bad time that time.
Fair
and
enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Because
So
we
now
do-
I've started checking myself too, because that's my
Thank you.
toxic trait,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I keep adding and removing people from this list that's in my head. It's my toxic trait. I'm not putting myself in their shoes.
I'm laughing because I'm just glad that we've pointed out multiple instances where me and Saira
Yeah.
are not doing too hot. Yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah,
have one.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad you. I'm gonna keep it.
I
I'm gonna
have-
keep it 100. I love
have
balance. I love
multiple
balance.
toxic traits. I will admit.
Let's talk about them.
Thank you.
Usually, I don't admit
Thank
it
you.
on this podcast. I start very strong.
Yeah.
Where I say no, it's not a me problem.
But let's
Yeah.
talk about your traits.
It's a you problem.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
talk
bring
about your
them up.
No,
Let's
I-
each name a toxic
guys,
trait.
because since we're talking about accountability, we should start from
Can
within.
we also
Talk about your toxic traits.
Wait. Before
You
we
know,
do
we
that,
could say actually, what's your least like offensive toxic trait? Like it is toxic, but you're not really hurting anyone.
Yeah.
Do you think you have one of those?
I have one.
of
on
course.
behalf of
Yeah.
Why are you asking me? Ask her. She has a list.
mean. She's a bully. I said
But
it out
that's
loud.
not hurting anyone.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay, at work,
Wow.
once.
Oh my god.
I personally that's what I feel. Maybe
Okay,
I'm wrong.
Okay, you
Oh,
go
oh,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. Talk
Yeah.
about
I'm
it,
not scared.
and then I want my 2 seconds to explain myself.
I think I'm going to just jump to what Elhaam has to say, and Elhaam will
No,
talk
no,
about
no.
your toxic
Go
traits.
ahead.
No.
Set the
No,
stage.
That's what I feel.
And then I will explain
okay,
myself.
So that's how I feel. So there have been instances between Elhaam and I.
Instances. Now it's become
Yeah, yeah, certain.
Mother
Or maybe
of-
I were to say that maybe I'm a little oversensitive. Let's
Yes.
put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm a little. So this is something that one should know about the other person.
Yeah, and I
you
didn't
have
know
to-
this.
Yeah. So with time, I think Elhaam has come to this point with me where she understands that look, Saira is a little too oversensitive. So this is what I have to say. This is what I don't have to say.
Yeah, but I'm self-aware enough to
Yeah.
not fix it.
Yeah, but then I'm also
do anything
self-aware
about it.
enough to know that I just need to create healthy boundaries. So that's how it works between us,
So
right?
you're saying your
That's why we're friends.
Yeah, that's why we're friends.
toxic trait that isn't really hurting anyone is oversensitivity.
I just feel
Can you hear the narcissism dripping? Dripping?
No, so
But that's fair. That's fair. That's what I'm saying, because like mine was definitely neither of those. Like it got very real here. I had like a fun, cutesy answer.
I have, okay, so can I start with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I personally feel maybe I have this trait. For the longest time, I used to think self-love, self-care is selfish.
Okay.
Okay? Growing up, if somebody was like, I need my time, this is my space, and I'd be like, why are you being so selfish? So for me, love equates to giving. Okay?
And kind of everyone doing it
Yeah,
together.
love
everyone
equates
being
to
together.
you need to be a giver, you need to love people, you need to care about them, you need to be always.
But that is love.
Yeah, that
but
is
the
love.
way-
But
you
when-
take it one step forward, where you're
Yes.
like, if you are going and spending a little time on
Yeah, so
yourself,
I would
you're
like-
not
I
hanging
said,
out with me, you don't love me.
Yeah, why are people so selfish? They just want to think about themselves, like
Okay.
self-love and self XYZ. And then later on in my life, for the past couple of years, I've understood one thing. If guys, you can't love yourself, you are in no capacity to love other people. As simple as that. Because you're expecting someone to love you when you can't even value your own self.
There's a lot of songs that have been written on this exact topic.
Yeah. So
Honestly.
then, coming from a place where I would be dependent on people, I would always want to be a giver, and I would always take also. But then I was like, okay, fine. Now I love me time. Me time is a thing, and people couldn't expect this from me. Like Saira going to her house in her room, spending 3-4 hours not picking up the phone, because I love going to my space in my room and doing my own stuff.
This just triggered another toxic trait of Saira's.
Please go on.
Not picking up her phone.
Yeah,
It
I don't.
is
Guys, I've
so
had fights with
annoying.
my friends, and a lot of friends can vouch for it.
I can
have a
vouch.
problem.
People thinking Saira's missing.
Yeah, the producer. So the producer, Patani, we had a miscommunication.
Oh,
I thought
miscommunication?
I thought the podcast was supposed to happen yesterday. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to happen today. And Ilham and I luckily met last night for dinner. I'm so sorry, guys. You guys weren't
Luckily,
invited.
after me,
I'm so sorry. But
Immediately, I'm like, oh, did you guys have dinner? That's
and
nice.
Ilham is like, by the way, you're coming tomorrow. I said, coming where? And she's like, for a podcast. And I
firstly,
said,
backtrack. Luckily, I had to text her. I had to remind her.
Yeah.
I had to get after her to come to this one dinner.
Yeah, one dinner. Guys,
I
I have a
wasn't
problem.
invited
I
to
have.
that.
This is an issue. I am a non-confrontational person. So the phone, picking up the phone, talking.
Except for with me.
Yeah,
you
with you.
confront
I don't
me
like
all the
picking
time.
up
I don't
phone
like.
either.
But
Okay,
even
yeah,
though I
fair
used to
enough.
love being on the phone for hours, but I don't like picking up the phone and responding. So I can see someone's message, and I'm sure you guys do it too, guys. Come on.
Send
And
me
you'll be
a
like,
voice
okay,
note. I
so
don't wanna pick up your phone
message
call.
hai, I'll respond to them. You keep
Mine are
certain
sitting like
people
this.
on unread. You can just respond to them, but you just keep them on unread because you want to respond to them later.
Yeah, I'm that person.
Yeah. So I need
coming
to work
back
on
to
that.
like earlier, you were saying that you've always been a giver.
But I've always
I
also
feel
been a taker.
I
I've been a
feel like
taker
that
also.
was like earlier on in my life, that was my toxic trait. I got walked on a lot by a lot of people, friends, family, because I was always the giver and because I gave too much. And most of the time in my head, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm getting back. And then when I actually one day woke up and started thinking it through, I was like, no, I'm not getting back enough. So maybe I need to stop and rethink what I'm doing, because this technically is a toxic loop I'm in. I'm stuck in. Because I'm constantly giving, not getting anything back. And then you're right, it made me insecure eventually in my relationships. And then I went the other route and I just shut down
What's the worst
completely.
relationship advice you've ever gotten? I saw this on TikTok last night, guys. I have an answer. I have an answer for it.
I've ever received.
I want
You've ever
Elhaam's
received-
answer first.
What's the worst
Oh.
TikTok relationship advice you've ever received?
Just go with it. I mean, because do you want to be alone?
What about you?
I think the worst I've ever received, honestly, just because I feel like I've outgrown this mentality, is like, well, no, you have to make them chase a little.
Okay.
You just have to make them chase a little. And to me, I'm just like, brother, I'm 35 years old.
Yeah, why?
My knees are shot. I'm not chasing you. You're not chasing. If you literally just don't make it clear to me, like, no. For me, and even in friendships now, so sorry, I want to get to your answer too, but I was a little upset at two of my friends. And I mean, I only Urdu mein, I was going to say meri to, but I was like so stressed out.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep all night. And I was like, if it's an actual friendship, I should be able to say this. Brother, it was handled in like 2 seconds. I just said, yeah, this upset me.
Yeah.
And da-da-da-da. But I think this whole mentality of like, chase, read the mind, that has been very unhealthy
I think
for
chase equates to keeping the spark alive. What people don't understand is the most sustainable relationships are the most monotonous, boring, monotone, everything to do with the smaller things in life. That is the time when you're actually bored of your partner, when you actually have day-to-day simple things in life, is the time you know this is a very healthy relationship. Yes, there are no sparks and butterflies. Yes, there's no
Sparks and butterflies you can always add.
Yeah, you can always add, but the fact of the matter is that for people, the chase is like, oh my God, the new love and the validation. I'm going to put something up, they're going to like it, this and that. Oh my God, they're so mysterious. They're so like, they went home, they stopped replying. Why? You get it? Like these TikTok tricks and Instagram, 11 ways of making that person fall in love with you and 10 ways of making them chase you. Get over it, guys. Trust me. Relationships are meant to be.
But can I tell you, I have internalized one of these things. If they wanted to, they would. But then at the same time, I want to do so many things and I stay the hell quiet. Like, I never say anything. But somebody asked me, like, because I do these ask me anythings on my social media all the time because I'm famous. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
So this person was like, why do we think we're so attracted to toxicity? And I was like, I'm going to keep it 100. I'm not going to give you some big sister response. Yeah. Toxicity is hot.
Yeah.
It is, for some reason, we are trained to believe that this person that is making me feel terrible is hot. And by terrible, I don't mean like abusive or this like that. I'm saying like not answering you back. Maybe they're not looking at your stories when they used to. Not liking your photos.
There's certain cues. Don't respond instantly. I have a habit of responding instantly.
Yeah.
Go home and be a little mysterious. Yeah. Do not always be available.
Yeah.
Just try to act like you're doing something else.
At some point wrote a guidebook. To this and wrote all of these things down, and then generations have just followed it.
And
media
guys,
has
tell you something,
like
people run after the ideology of a chase, the mystery guy or the mystery girl, but for how long? Okay, you chase someone for years and years and years and years. Okay,
it fades out as you get older. You don't want to chase anymore.
It's not attractive.
Okay, what if they turn around one day, say, oh my God, you've been chasing us for so many years, I'm head over heels for you. Okay, Sabah, what would you say to that person? Like, you'd be like,
I'd be like, wait, so you knew? Let me tell you something about me.
For me,
my toxic trait, one of them, and I don't even know if it's toxic or if it's self-love. I like me so much that if you don't like me, there's something wrong with you, right? Yeah. If somebody said to me, you've been chasing me this long, you're so devoted to me, the way the ick would settle in my bones, and I'd be like, I literally will be the reason your life ends. I'm joking, that's a threat. But I would end it. I would be so unattractive to that person.
Oh my God, I'm so glad I have you now.
So I follow this woman on TikTok, this woman who was like, never, ever, ever, ever chase a man. Because at the end of the day, like that, they can never know that you like them more than they like you or whatever. And there's a part of me that's like, shit, that feels real. But then there's a part of me that's like, isn't that a crazy, like, toxic way to live?
But a lot of people don't like the good guys.
No, a lot of people. That's the thing. Because society has kind of made the toxic behavior cool.
Yeah.
Because of the
good guys are the nerdy ones, the boring ones.
It's ego. It's like you're winning the guy.
I mean, look at your drama. We keep coming back to the dramas, but like, nothing gets more toxic than those scripts. My God. Every single one of them has some form of toxic relationship, and by the end of the drama, it kind of magically fizzles out, and like people just say sorry. But that's the thing, they make it look cool, which is why people are like, they aspire to that.
Which is the wrong thing. I have commitment issues. I'm a player. I've been with so many people. Yeah, but I really like you. And the fact that they say, I really like you.
You're different.
They're never gonna say, I love you. I really like you. Like, yeah, you're there. So you have to work a little hard.
Wow,
for-
this,
You know
I
what I'm
feel
gonna
like this
say?
is coming from like
Wait, but see,
inside.
it's not
None of
it's
us-
coming out of like a lot of like when I see people around me,
Yeah.
when I see what's working in marriages, relationships, friendships,
Families.
it's the same pattern.
Yeah.
It is the same pattern. Look cool, act cool. Wow, you are
Who
the
likes
best.
the other less?
Yeah,
Best. Wait, let me
yeah.
ask you a question because the three of us are very
You need
cool.
to answer this question. What was the best advice that you've ever? The worst
she
advice.
answered it.
I
but you
answered.
didn't
What was
answer it.
yours?
So I saw this on TikTok and it resonates with me a lot. Be with the person who loves you more than you love them. Do you guys believe?
I
in
just
this?
talked about that.
Yeah,
that's supposed.
yeah,
That's apparently
yeah,
the thing.
yeah. No, but would you want to be settled with someone who loves you?
Look, in the
More
most
than-
ideal scenario, like truly, and I believe that you can get this. I have seen people who live lives like this. It should be that we like each other
Yeah.
constantly in tandem. Like it is working around one another. But I think the one thing a lot of, especially Pakistani couples, because the reason we get into marriages are very different than
Yeah.
what we've been watching on TV growing up, right?
Oh my
Like
God.
it's not really love and partnership. It's like, well, if we want to go sit in a coffee shop and get seen by people, we need to sign our nikah first. Sorry, I'm putting it as it is.
Nuanced.
Nuance, of
Yeah.
course, that's not always the scenario, but I feel like, sorry, but like it's just, I forgot my point. I was ranting and raving about that.
Pakistani couples
Yeah.
and the way that
Yeah,
they,
that I think there's this.
they idolize almost all
Yeah.
these relationships that
Yeah.
they see
It's
or they
lar-
read
it
about
has
or
to be
whatever.
larger than life.
But
Yeah.
what they forget is that that's not what real life
This is what my
relationships
point
are.
was. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that the most important thing in any relationship, and that even comes
It's
down to
balance.
family? No,
Yeah.
you have to freaking like each other,
Yeah.
bro. I
Yeah.
feel like people don't even like each other,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that and so
Yeah.
much toxicity is born from the fact that you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Literally, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm just
You
here
know?
because you like me.
Yeah,
Or I'm
here
just here because you're a nice person.
You
I
like
care
me.
about
I don't
you.
even know if I
Yeah,
like you.
yeah.
You don't even have a friendship. Like I cannot express how important friendship is in every relationship. Like I can even say with parents,
Yeah.
I have friendships, and before those friendships developed, it was like cats and dogs. You know what I mean? Like we were ripping each other to shreds any chance we got.
Speaking of like, what about relationships at work?
That aren't
What if
toxic.
you don't genuinely like the people you work with?
Oh, at work.
Toxic behavior kind of just settles in, right? Like
Yeah.
that toxicness will settle in. How do you get around that? Because you like your job, you like what you do, you get paid great,
Well,
but you don't
as-
like the people that you work with.
As my last job said,
are
I
you-
would.
No, I'm not
Sorry.
directing this at you, Saira. Not everything is about you.
Also, the three of us have worked together.
So we have
for over 5
Okay,
years.
so
No, I'm talking about
Yeah, generally.
I'll say this,
Like,
Emma.
for example, we were talking earlier, like when you started your new job,
Yeah.
you didn't like a lot of the people you were working with.
that's not true, guys.
Let her keep her job.
They're not gonna watch this. They're
know,
not gonna
what I'm-
watch
what I'm
this.
trying to say.
She has a private account. They're not gonna watch this.
I have a public account. They
Guys,
might watch this.
I'll just send my CV over.
No, I'm
But
just
yeah,
saying. Okay,
saying-
no, I'm just saying. When you go to a new place,
place,
you
you're not-
don't instantly like. We were blessed because we ended up when we all started working here. We ended up previously knowing each other or whatever. We ended up liking each other. We were on the same wavelength
Yeah.
to an extent. But there are lots of times where
It depends
you go
upon the culture
into
as well.
Yeah.
So the culture over here, and I'm not just saying it because I'm speaking on behalf of Dawn's platform. The culture at Dawn, because now I'm on the other side of the fence. The culture at Dawn is amazing.
Thanks to us.
Okay,
Say it.
it's any place, anywhere you go in life, it's the people who make the place wonderful. Okay,
You know what people
it's not the job.
Yeah.
So for the longest
That's
time,
what
if
I'm
I
saying.
could not leave this place, guys, I don't have karono ka budget in my account. Okay, I wasn't. Yeah. Anyways,
We're segueing
I
into a
had
whole other.
wonderful people who I would walk at work into and look at my colleagues now / friends, and I could talk about anything. You know, when you can talk about anything apart from work is where you feel like you can adjust, adapt. And for the longest time, a lot of us, Elhaam till date, it's going to be very difficult for people to leave this culture because I have gone to a completely different culture. I can't even imagine sitting or dancing on top of a table or cracking jokes or letting someone in on my life of who Saira Omer really is. I think everyone over here knows what her weaknesses are, who she is as a person,
No,
who
they
Neha is as a person, who Sabah is as a person. Everyone knows, and I
No,
think they
okay, the
endorse-
guards always stop me at the gate and said, "Aap kaun?"
You know, and I think over
And I
here
was like, "मैं काम करती हूँ, dog."
they endorse this culture.
that's
They
the
want
thing.
you to, you know, be
That's
your
the-
truest form.
That's
I'll
the
tell
thing.
you.
It's not just about where we are, right?
Yeah.
We talk about where we are because it comes naturally to us because we're living it. When you're working together with like people from all over, you're spending a lot of time with them. You're spending more. Sometimes you're spending more time with them than with your own families
Well,
at
that's why
home,
they
right?
say like the friendships you make at work like are some of the strongest you'll
Yeah,
ever make
'cause
because
you're
you're in
trauma
the
bonding.
trenches, literally.
Trauma bonding.
Oh, let's not get there.
Trauma
This
bonding.
word-
Yeah,
this
we've
word.
all been there.
So I've heard this word trauma bonding, and I was like, "Huh?
Wait, before we
literally what we've
can
done.
I just hold on. I'm
But,
talking about
what's
trauma
trauma
but there are
bonding.
also
But-
other people
guys,
who
This is
have.
how you know we're friends in real life because we're all gonna hit each
You know,
other. if
you
we
know,
get
how
and
we're
stuck.
talk over
can I
each
say
other.
something?
No.
Let me finish
Can
what I'm saying.
yeah,
But I
cut
want to say
her
something.
off.
I have ADHD. I'll forget. When you talk about trauma bonding, it is not a trigger, but I want to say something that I think everyone trauma bonds somewhere or the other.
Thank you for stating the obvious.
No. But certain people take it the wrong way that
It's toxic.
yeah, trauma bonding
I
was
agree
toxic.
with you. So that happened.
there's multiple
That
We were
happened.
definitions
There
trauma
was an
bonding,
bonding,
example.
and now
bonding.
when you are healing, you are not attached to the same person because you know better.
No, so this is what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Not like different people sometimes like from pulling from trauma bonding. A lot of people nowadays will say, oh, instead of trauma bonding, like we take it as a positive where we're like, okay, we've been through the trenches and we've come out stronger on the other end, right? Like our relationships are stronger.
Yeah.
That's how we see it. There are a lot of other people on the other end of the spectrum who are like, no, this is toxic. That
Yeah.
we should not be feeling like this. We should not be in the trenches in the first place.
Because they equate it to actually a trauma.
Yeah.
And then when they say that they're on a journey of healing themselves, this bond would not resonate.
But I also think adding to that is like it depends on how you view it, right? As in, are you a person who comes in with the mentality of I'm building community, or are you for yourself? Both things have merits, but I'll tell you, my last job, initially I was thought of as toxic because I would eat lunch alone. I'm brand new at this place. Like, I don't want to sit there and have lunch with people I don't know. That do people 10 years younger than me, right? But then I would say till now, some of my closest friends I made in Karachi came from that experience because when we saw that we were under the same sort of dictatorship, we found community with one another.
Yeah.
And instead of seeing it as like, oh, we're sitting here and being negative, it's not like we always were
I'm
like,
big on
"Bah."
community. I
Yeah,
feel
there
like
was
the
this
best
thing
kind of
like-
experiences and the best kind of work comes out of
And
community.
honestly, all of us got out of that toxicity. And I can't say it's not because we were working on it together. And like one by one, when people got their out, they took their out because it was work toxicity. Honestly, look, friendship toxicity is bad, of course. Relationship toxicity can be terrible. Yeah. Like you said, we spend a lot of time at work. Work toxicity with your bills and your paycheck hanging over your head is some of the most insane shit I have ever been through. Like, I am changed as a human being from like
That's
back
what
to
I'm saying.
back
It's a
jobs
really
like
big
that.
part of your life
Yeah.
that we tend to just kind of write off.
That is part of the course.
But yeah, exactly. And a lot of people go through it and keep pushing through it. And then when they actually get out on the other side, they're like, I can't believe I went through it for this long.
Yeah.
And kept no, not this place. You just talked it up. Stop it. Strikes. Copyright strikes.
Yeah. But yeah, man, so remember when you guys were talking about the fact that Neha was, okay, why can't people get out of a toxic
That's it. Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
or a bond?
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's
Why?
not
Why
easy.
do you think it's not easy?
I think, well, actually, Elhaam, I want you, because you said something good
I
about
think
it.
it's
yeah.
not easy because as human beings, we constantly need to be validated.
Yeah.
And if someone walks away from you, tiny example, if someone actually walks away from you, you feel like you said, I'm not good enough.
I'm a failure.
I'm a failure because they walked away from
There's
me.
something wrong in me.
In me.
Yeah.
And we tend to blame ourselves
Yeah.
first because
That's the
and we don't
worst
look at,
thing to do.
We don't look at the scenario, we don't look at the environment, we don't look at what they were going through, we don't put ourselves in their shoes.
Yeah.
So our first thought is always, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
But little
It's
girls
me.
are also raised to believe that, right? Like children, I feel like Pakistani kids are raised to believe like,
Oh my God,
you
we're
must make everyone
raised to
like
believe
you, and
so
if
many
people don't
things.
like you, there's a big problem in this, and you need to make your relationships work. And what are we constantly told? Compromise. You have to. So if you've
a
given it
generational
all,
thing, right?
I also think there's sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah.
You've put all this time into someone, but then the other thing is toxicity in relationships at times. Like I said earlier, I wasn't talking about abusive ones. In this scenario, I am going to talk about how they can be so abusive because, dude, you get a high when things are going well, right? Like
Yep.
it feels
Yeah.
good. It like hits your nerves.
When you
Yeah.
validate one another,
Yeah.
when you show the other person you love them and you care about them, so the highs compensate the lows.
But
Yeah.
that's what toxic
But,
people do.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
you
play
chase
with your
those
emotions.
highs. Yeah.
You
They
chase
give
those
a little
highs.
bit,
Yeah.
and then
they pull.
They
Yeah.
pull.
They pull.
You'd actually said something earlier. I didn't want to steal her thoughts, but maybe I will. One of you said it where it's like the comfort of the toxicity and what you know keeps you there versus the
Versus
discomfort of like, I'm gonna venture
Yes.
out
Yeah.
of this
Yeah,
hell.
Yeah,
and find
exactly.
my
That's what I was
new-
saying. You
Yeah.
would rather be in a
Comfortable-
toxic, familiar situation
Yeah.
than an uncomfortable, non-toxic.
I also just
situation.
think like if
I'm
I
a
bring
victim
it,
of that too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm a victim
it
of
took
that
me-
because it takes a person a lot of. You have to be brave.
Yeah.
You have to
But
be
guys,
strong
growth
enough to kind of
comes
move through,
from
push through.
getting out of that.
Discomfort.
Yeah, but also we
comfort level.
as generally as Pakistanis don't like change.
Yeah.
oh no, we
And-
hate it.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
conformity
Yeah.
and we love aisa hi hota hai.
Routine,
Yeah.
conformity,
Routine,
and just
conformity,
kind of going, pushing,
Familiarity.
going
Yeah.
through the
This is-
motions.
yeah,
but we don't. And in order to do that, in order to get yourself out of that kind of a situation or out of that kind of a hole that you're in, you have to be brave. You have to push through and you have to change.
Yeah.
And you change yourself first, just like Saira has done,
Yeah.
which I'm really proud of. I'm
Thank
saying
you.
it for the
Honestly,
second time.
I also
So I got out of this place after 10 years, and just the
Mashallah.
fact that, everyone could say that Saira would never leave Dawn because I love this place. I had to, because I had to make my ends meet. I had to challenge myself, go to another place, get uncomfortable, not be pampered in this space. Not, I have more discipline now. I would take the management for a ride over here. We all know I would come here by 12:31.
redact
Yeah, I was a redundant resource over here, and I knew that okay, I'm not serving anything to the company anymore, and the company is also like
Saira's
hanging on to me.
toxic trait number 500, where
Yeah.
she does not value herself.
yeah.
I do value myself.
Oh my God,
Coming
let's
back
talk
to-
about toxic traits.
coming back to valuing ourselves, guys. Trust me, and I'm not kidding. The way I see myself now, if you were to ask me this question 2 years ago, that Saira, I'd be like, I view myself through this person's eyes. I view myself through that person's eyes. This person thinks I'm a good dancer. That person thinks I have a really good heart. This person thinks I have an amazing soul. So I am the product of everyone else's perception. But now, when I looked within, there is so much more to me than the way people look at me.
So could I
Absolutely.
say, like, could you say then that you've healed a toxic relationship with yourself?
Yes.
And self-identity.
More
and
than
stuff?
anything, more than a bond, more than a relationship, or any kind of relationship, I've healed with myself. And I'm still healing. You
Can
don't
I-
heal overnight.
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm
an
healing.
It's a
evolving
journey.
So
It's a
every
journey.
time there is another issue that you tap onto, and then you realize, oh, maybe I have abandonment issues because maybe my mom was not present as growing up or wasn't around. I don't know. So I'm just trying to figure out why is it that I always want to hold on to people, where it's very easy for someone to be like, okay, you're rubbing me the wrong way, you want to leave, walk out. A lot of people can do that. Why can't Saira do it? Why is it that Saira needs to just keep everyone together?
Can I turn that
Yeah.
towards you also? Do you feel that dealing with it, because you've talked about people pleasing.
Yeah.
We all know you're a workaholic and things like that.
Yeah.
Comes up once every episode.
And I think you are a little guarded.
I am very
You're
guarded.
very guarded.
But I'm
Elhaam
guarded.
is guarded.
So do you think that's a toxic
It is.
thing you want to deal
It-
with
it
yourself?
hundred-
This is literally therapy.
She's a very
I swear to God.
she's a sensitive person at heart. That's what I know, because
I
again,
agree.
I am a really
I don't like being
good
called
judge,
sensitive either.
excellent judge of
Yeah.
character, but
No,
a
she
worse
just
judge of
thinks she
character.
knows
Hold on, but
really
let her
well.
answer
No.
the question.
She just thinks she
Yeah.
knows me really
Yeah.
well.
Okay, but you
and
go.
so I won't have to answer.
No,
she'll
please
answer
go
for
ahead.
me.
Please go
Nay,
ahead.
please.
Please go ahead.
Toxic trait number 100.
Apne show pe please. Yeah.
No, I am guarded because, like I said, a long time ago, I used to be a very different person. And we've talked about this on the across multiple episodes. I was a very, very, when I was much younger, I was very shy. I was very insecure, especially with my relationships. As I grew older, I started becoming a giver, a people's pleaser as a reaction to that. So in my journey, I've had lots of reactions to lots of things happening around me, my environment changing. And something happened, I became guarded. And then after that, it's been now, this is the longest actually I've been guarded, where I'm just not lifting it up because I'm also slightly afraid of letting people in because I will get hurt again. So because of that, I'm constantly in my head, I'm overthinking it. And we had an episode on that, a couple of, whoever hasn't watched it, please go watch it. It was great.
It was a great episode.
But like, because of that, and it's my toxic trait, like where I push people away before I even let them in. Like before they even come and knock on the door, I'm like, no. Which every episode starts like that. You ask me a question, I'm like, no.
But I had to
somehow
really,
you break it
I had
down.
to really break through
No, you
that
really didn't.
wall compared to all the people at work.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Compared to all the people at
If you compare
work.
with, say, if there's a room full of people and you compare with that, yes, I will say, and I agree to it, and I'm very self-aware of it now. I'm working on it. I'm working to be a little bit more approachable because I've been told a lot that I'm not approachable, that people are terrified of me.
At
And I'm
least
like,
you haven't
why are
been
you
told,
terrified
at
of me?
least you haven't been told that, Saira, you have a resting dash face.
I get told that
So
all
if
the
I
time.
get told that all the time. So
All the
if I'm sitting at a party and somebody came up to me the other day, she's like,
What do you
Saira,
think you're not approachable is? It's the nice
Yeah.
way of
No,
saying
no,
that.
but Saira,
please. I don't
can
think
you-
either of the three of us have been
Yeah.
treated with fair
Saira,
hands
can
in
you
our
smile
lives.
a little because people think you're actually a very unapproachable. I was like, I'm so glad God gave me this face because I'm a very approachable individual. And if I had an innocent face, then people would definitely
I
take
like
me for
the
a ride.
mystery of it all. When
People
they
would
always
take
say
me
to
for
me,
a
you're
ride.
so intimidating, and
yeah.
I'm like, okay.
But good. Acha hai, duro.
I like.
Stay away.
Okay, no.
Stay away.
Okay, no. Like most
Not that either of you
Yeah.
asked me. I'm also trying to heal my toxic
Oh
relationship.
no,
with
we're getting
myself.
there. But
Yeah.
before we do that,
This
I'm
was
just
my
gonna
toxic
like
trait.
my last thing in. I actually like. I don't like being called unapproachable. I don't like people saying, "Oh, you have this face" or whatever. Because at the end of the day, eventually, when they do get to know me,
You have this face or
they're
whatever.
like, they're surprised. They're like, "Oh my god,
All-
you're actually really." And I'm like, "Why are you assuming all of these things about me?"
I love when people
Walk
like
up to me-
Sabah, I'm like, it's actually really nice. And
No,
I was
with
like,
me though, they
With
just
this
see my
actually
face and
word,
they're like,
no?
oh my god.
Actually.
If we go and speak to her, she's gonna punch us. Yes, I will punch you. Yes. But what I'm trying to say is
Please think that about me also.
she
but,
will.
but my personality balances my appearance, which is the complete opposite, and I want to believe that I'm a very approachable individual and I'm an introvert but an extrovert.
Actually, a lot of people have told me you're very approachable.
A lot of people have. That's ooh.
I mean, anyone
My
I've
friends.
ever talked to,
They love you.
I love your friends and I love people, guys. It's not like that. I'm just saying that if I
Throw the
I didn't
L
have
word
this
around a
face,
lot.
Yeah.
if I did not have this face, I feel like people would take me for a ride.
It's just that face you make for selfies. It's just
Which face?
But
this
now
is this
what face it is.
It's this face.
Make it. Do the pouch.
It's this
Do
face.
the pouch.
No, I did that.
No,
and the minute I put a selfie up, ha ha ha, what is this? Da 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 da. And I'm like, guys.
No,
it
it's
was-
not always me, guys.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's like,
Okay, your toxic trait.
Well, no,
I mean, we've been through a lot of your traits, yeah.
What I was gonna say is to like kind of wrap this up because I think we started with like toxicity that attracts us,
Yeah.
and then you very self-aware, self-toxicity, but like. I feel like if you're listening and you're like, well, how do I deal with my own toxicity? Like, I'll tell you, I've just reached a point where I'm like, I'm tired of living like this. Like, I'm tired of feeling this way. And I feel like the self-awareness is important, but it was really just eye-opening to be like, am I making my own life harder and honestly lonelier?
Yeah.
Because I'm holding on to like abandonment issues, or I'm holding on to like, my biggest thing is, okay, my biggest toxic trait, vulnerability. I don't believe people actually like me. Like it's very hard for me to accept that like we are genuinely friends, which is why for me I'll be like, Are you sure
You're
you want to go to
projecting
dinner?
that on
Are you
yourself.
sure?
But like I
Yeah.
said,
You're
it's a you
projecting
problem
that.
It's a
because
me.
you
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are constantly
Exactly.
and you know what's
Don't
going to
yell at
happen.
me. Don't
Yeah.
No, and then you know what's
Yeah.
going to happen. You start believing it,
No, but I do. That's what I'm saying. Like I fully,
and then you push people away.
I fully. That's why when someone's like, "Oh, we're friends," I'll literally be like, because my brain. And the thing is, that's uncomfortable for people who genuinely like you to hear, right? Because
Me.
they're like, I thought we were friends. Now you're making me question, are we actually friends? So point being, what I wanted to end this on basically is, I think, Saira, I'm glad you were here for this episode because we've talked
Thank
a
you,
lot
guys.
about toxicity.
Thank you for
addressing
inviting
it.
me for this particular
No,
topic.
threatening you,
before we
dragging
leave,
you here,
before
kicking
we
it
leave,
straight.
I have one final question for
Okay.
Saira.
Yeah, please go ahead. We're ending
Sarah-
this? Okay, cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
calm down.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know
Yeah,
how long
listen.
we've been talking.
Yeah, a while.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Producer says now go home.
Yeah.
In front of everyone, am I toxic to you? Be honest.
I had to create some healthy boundaries.
Oh my God.
But no, you're not toxic to me.
I don't
anymore.
think I've ever been.
I know the most uncomfortable thing for me to do was to create healthy boundaries with friends. I
Yeah.
think for me it was like, what do you mean you're creating a healthy boundary? What is a healthy boundary?
No,
Like, what's-
it's a
it
legit
is
thing.
It's a legit thing. I just want to add something, a very small thing. Then we're going to wrap this up. So very recently, what me and my friends have started doing is, if I don't like something, like somebody's going to pass a comment, I'll go home and I'll go, and then I'll just think about it for days. And I'm an overthinker. And then one day I was like, okay, guys, I need to address this. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to keep something on my chest. I was like, spoke to my friends about it, and we had a very healthy conversation where that person's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't think that you'll take this joke not as a joke. And my other friend also told me, Sarah, by the way, I didn't like that comment. So now all of us friends have started and it's a very uncomfortable conversation. You
Yeah.
know, in a room full of people, you're like, by the way, can I say something? The reason why I wasn't picking up your call is because that wasn't cool. So now we've started creating that space where let's talk about what you don't like about me. It's
Yeah.
perfectly all right. We're
Yes,
friends.
girl, we're on the same
supposed to
journey. I really
it.
feel.
We are supposed to like each other's
Yeah.
flaws. We are supposed to like each other for who we are. But certain times, don't push it. Don't cross the line. Even though
do it in
you
a
are-
respectful manner,
Yeah,
but
do it in a-
also majority of these little conflicts that we feel like are really big conflicts get resolved like this.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
just
we
by
talked
us
about
open
talking about
communication
it.
is the
Open
enemy of
communication.
toxicity.
Yeah.
rather than sitting in a room and saying, by the way, I didn't like that, and then going on for days and then speaking to another friend. And
Which
then,
is what I do.
Oh my God, toxic behavior.
Yeah.
Toxic.
This
me.
Speaking,
Just
we
put
didn't
it
even
out
touch on
there.
that.
Your friends are going to be like, Asha, people at times don't take criticism too well, right? They'll be like, okay. And after 10 minutes, everyone's laughing. Okay, I understand, Sarah. You're very sensitive. We won't say that. I said, don't talk
bringing
about
it
it.
up.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye. Okay.
No,
yeah,
but
so
just to wrap up, Sarah, how did you do research for the show?
So last night, when I was told that this is the episode, I was told about this episode months ago. And I was like, "Jab main
She
jaungi,
found
I'm gonna-
Neha's eyes
Yeah.
on it.
I'm just gonna go and I'll be very philosophical and blah 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 blah." So I just went on like TikTok and I just wrote toxic relationships podcast, and there were these really amazing quotes, right, guys? Some guys like, by the way, I was like, oh my god, I just like memorized it in my brain. I was like, tomorrow I'm gonna go and I'm going to be the best version of myself when it comes to toxic relationships.
And she walked into Dawn and
And
forgot
I just walked
everything.
in and I forgot everything. I forgot everything. So, but I'm glad I did, because this is me, guys. Whatever you've heard is very much my life, my experiences, and our experiences. And I'm really glad to share it with the both of you. And yeah, we should talk about these things and just let's
We
talk
are.
about it. Yeah,
We are.
Okay, bye.
yeah.
Thank you,
And
Saira.
thank you, guys.
Saira.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
This was a fun one.
Yeah.